Look, I mean, I think that honestly this is an underwhelming budget. It's one where a number of things have disappointed us. You mentioned fiscal deficit, and indeed it's good there's been enough discipline that we can go down from 4.5 to 4.4 and look forward to 4.3. But I've been in Parliament long enough to remember the Finance Minister's predecessor, the late Arun Jaitley, announcing a fiscal deficit of 3.5% as his target. We are far from that, and we're applauding a much higher number today. So one must see things in perspective. You know, it's all very well speaking about things like continuity, stability, fiscal discipline, and so on. But what I think about is the Aam Aadmi in this country. Is there enough money in his pocket? Very clearly not. You're seeing a dramatic increase in credit card debt every day. If you're looking at jobs, unemployment has been continuing to bother people, particularly the employed in the educated sector. And there are so many anecdotes of positions being advertised in the railways, a peon position, a head constable position in the police, whatever, and you get over 1,000 applications per post. And these are not just the 8 standard or 10 standard qualification that's required for the job. These are college graduates and PhDs because they have no adequate employment. And that's something the government has not addressed specifically in this budget. Then there are other larger questions which, well, there's so much, in fact, I've been giving interviews all day to various channels on various aspects that trouble me. But one thing that I will say as an MP from Kerala is my profound disappointment that even in an election year, the BJP did not see fit, the government did not see fit to give my state what its fair share. There are some schemes that have been announced. Rare earths is something I have advocated. I have published articles requiring that we do serious efforts to become self-sufficient in rare earths. There are precious sands in Kerala that could be mined, but this is a 15-year project. Mining rare earths, creating the infrastructure, and then processing and refining my rare earths is a very long-term, high investment requiring activity. We're 15 years away from seeing the fruits of that. In the meantime, our dependence continues. If you look at the other areas for Kerala that there's a mention of a turtle trail. I'm not sure that's going to make a lot of people terribly excited, unless they love turtles, God bless them. But there are other needs. There's a reference to coconuts and cashews, and I'm assuming we'll be a beneficiary, but Kerala was not mentioned either in the speech or in the budget document. But since we are the biggest producer of both coconuts and cashews, I'm expecting that we will be a beneficiary. Similarly, there are some interesting areas that I would like to see Kerala benefiting from, but Kerala was not specifically mentioned. Inland waterways. We've had an announcement of ship repair in Patna and Varanasi, but Kerala has more inland waterways than any other Indian state, and there's been no mention of Kerala. Why could we not have such ship repair facilities for inland waterways in Kerala? Port development. We have the magnificent Vizhinjam port in my constituency, which is the biggest container terminal in India, where the largest ships in the world are able to dock. No mention of any support for it. It needs better connectivity into the hinterland, road, rail connectivity. No support from the centre was announced for that, whereas a package would have done some good. So, aims. We've been promised an aims in the very first NDA budget 12 years ago. It still has not become reality. No mention of it again. There was a mention of creating some All India Institutes of Ayurveda. Kerala is the obvious place to park one. I've been demanding an Ayurveda university in Kerala, in Thiruvananthapuram, for many, many years, letter after letter to various ministers. The truth of the matter is, there was only one place mentioned, that was the Ayurveda Centre in Jamnagar. There was no mention made of Kerala, and we ought to have an Ayurveda university or centre in Kerala. Many other things we might benefit from. Biopharma was talked about. We have a tremendous record in the healthcare sector. We might be able to do that. We've got things like urban centres, urban clusters being talked about. Kerala is a very urbanized state, lots of cities and towns, but we have not been told that we're going to get anything out of that, and so on and so forth. So, I mean, I feel that now the new hashtag for my state has to be Invisible Kerala. We send the largest remittances of any Indian state. We do we produce lots of skilled and educated labor for the entire country. We bring foreign exchange to this country. We attract tourists to the country. But when it comes to the budget, it's Invisible Kerala. That's a real concern I have. Other things, we see ideas like having a new cadre of healthcare caregivers. But, they have an existing cadre of ASHA workers who are treated abominably. There are 30,000 of them in my state. There are 10 lakh around the country. You know what they get? They get 2,000 to 4,000 rupees a month as an honorarium. They don't even get a proper salary. Many of them work 18-hour days. They may have occasional extra money coming from task-related incentives, but very few and very irregular. They have no minimum wage, no salary, no pension, no job security. And now we're creating a new cadre of caregivers when the existing ones we can't take care of. And the final point I want to say about the budget is that too many promises have been underwhelming in recent years for other reasons, that a sum is announced, the actual allocations are less, and the expenditure is even less. I can give you example after example. I've got sheets of paper in front of me if you're really interested. Smart cities are one example. You announce something, project implementation is very low, dispersal of funds is very low. If you look at almost any particular activity, the implementation does not match the rhetoric.
Dr. Tharoor, why do you think, according to you?
I'd love the government to explain why. Maybe what they have omitted to do is put the word Kerala in all these big ticket items they announced. If they do that, maybe we'll be happy.
Talking about the diplomatic point of view, there's no mention or no allocation to Chabahar port in the Indian budget. What's your reading?
Well, I think the reading is very clear. Last year they had announced 100 crores for the Chabahar port in the budget estimates. Then that went up to 400 crores in the revised estimates. And in this year's budget it's zero, which looks like we're giving up on the port in the view of the current geopolitical situation, with the squeeze on Iran, the increasing sanctions from the Western countries, and the demand that we not cooperate with Iran. It's a very valuable relationship we've had for a long time, but it looks like we appear to be abandoning the idea of spending any money on that port. It may be true that there are practical obstacles. If everything is sanctioned, how do you spend money? And what happens to those who do go there? Because those companies that are active in Chabahar then will be sanctioned by the West as well. Even Indian companies will be sanctioned. So that may be the reason. But it does look like it's a surrender to a particular policy that has been imposed from the outside on Iran. The very fact that there is no money in the budget suggests that.
Talking about this, the India-EU FTA, they have been talked about and termed as the mother of all deals. Your perspective regarding that, and also regarding the budget, do you think there is an effort to counter the tariff pressure which we have from the West?
Well, I don't see that many examples of the latter, but certainly the FTAs are very, very important, and they are extremely important in two ways. One is because we have lost potentially lost, even for a longer way, in a bigger way, a large chunk of the American market. America used to be our biggest market. Now, if we can make the EU our biggest market, that would compensate. No doubt about that. However, the agreement has been signed, it's not yet enforced. There are various procedures in the EU before it can be brought into force. And from our point of view, that needs to be expedited, because obviously, if you are able, with an FTA, to increase your exports of many items, that means you can also increase your production and thereby generate more jobs to manufacture the goods you want to export. So that's the whole logic of FTAs. From an Indian point of view, if it generates employment for our people as well as export-led growth, there is much to applaud. And so I'm all in favor of more and more FTAs. And the geopolitical message it sends is that we have options. We have more channels, more ideas, more friends, more partners. And that too is a good message, that no country takes us for granted, thinking, oh, they're dependent on us. India can't do anything without us. Well, no, we can go elsewhere. And that message is important to give as well.
Because of the backdrop of, we have seen statements from Donald Trump asking us to buy oil from Venezuela. Do you think in the backdrop of the deal which is being talked about and still ongoing, it will have any repercussion or any?
Well, it could help, though the deal has been hanging fire for a very long time, as you know, the Indo-US trade deal. But on the oil front, I must say that this doesn't surprise me, because, you know, what had happened was that Venezuelan oil, Iranian oil, and Russian oil have all been sanctioned by the Western countries. And as a result, countries were buying limited supplies of other oil, US oil, Middle Eastern oil supplies, and so on, Nigerian oil. There are some major suppliers, and they were essentially a finite quantity of oil being bought by an increasing number of purchasers. India was able to ease the pressure on the limited supply by buying Russian oil with the consent and knowledge of the Western countries. But now that Mr. Trump has cracked down on that and imposed a 50% tariff on India, that becomes unviable. And even for companies buying sanctioned Russian oil, they too face the prospect of facing sanctions from the US and others, and they have other businesses they have to think about. So obviously there's already been a significant drop in purchase from Russia. Now, if you don't increase that from another source, inevitably oil prices would increase everywhere, because what's happening is more buyers focusing on limited quantities of a certain item, in this case oil. So it was essential from the American point of view, because they also don't want prices going up at the pump. The American voter would be affected. So it was essential that when they tighten the screws on Russia, that they have to open the spigot on Venezuela. And they, after their action in January, this is very much, very openly, one of the purposes of decapitating the Venezuelan government, was to ensure that the newly sort of obliging administration in Venezuela would once again be able to release oil onto the international market. American companies would be producing it, and that countries like India, which were buying Iranian and Russian oil before, would now buy Venezuelan instead. But the logic is, from India's point of view, it will not cost us significantly more, because world oil prices will remain stable, since you've got two countries sanctioned, but a third one is being unsanctioned. And therefore the amount of oil coming into the global oil pool will ensure that prices remain stable.
The last question, if you allow, Dr. Towards the Kerala election, the assembly election is taking place, your outlook, what are the chances? How do you look at it?
Look, I think it's absolutely indispensable that there should be a change of government. The left has been ruling for 10 years now, and they just proposed a budget a couple of days ago, which completely was based on funds they don't have, and funds that the centre is not willing to give them. So between a centre that is indifferent to Kerala and a state that is committing fiscal profligacy, and clearly the innocent Kerala voter is caught in a trap. The Kerala growth model has been replaced by a Kerala debt model. Right now, Kerala is spending the majority of its budget on two items, pensions and debt servicing, and not on development. We need to transform that. We need to find new sources of revenue by ease of doing business. We have to have a new vision for Kerala. And honestly, the UDF, led by the Congress, is the only option that would provide a new approach to governance, and that would actually give new ideas to the state. So we are heading forward in a very serious way. The government in the centre has not really made much of an effort to give a pre-poll budget to Kerala. So I don't think that we can count too much on the centre right now. But there are things we can work with. Some schemes of ours that the centre might be willing to collaborate with, and some of the centre schemes in which Kerala could become ready to take advantage. So there are things we can do once we are elected, but in the next 3 months, it's only to work with the voters to ensure they understand how dire the situation is and how badly an alternative approach to governance and development is needed.
So your party has given us earlier, whenever prior to 2011, there have been a scenario 140, 140. So after 2011,
140 is the total number of seats in the assembly.
140, 100 to the government.
But this last 5 years, it's been 100 to 40.
Yes.
Yeah. This time, I think we will do very much better, and we will perhaps reverse the tables too. I mean, our aspiration is to get to 100 plus. There is a lot of anti-incumbency. Don't have any doubts about that. People have seen the worst of the misrule of the CPM-led LDF government in the course of the last 10 years. And there's a good reason why in Kerala, voters have usually been changing governments every 5 years. They have high expectations, high standards, and demands of their elected representatives. Those demands have comprehensively not been met by the present government. So I'm expecting, in any case, a significant reversal. But I'm not complacent about it. We have to work hard, and we have to campaign on the basis of a clear vision document, a vision for the development of the future of the state. At the moment, Kerala is a state where, for all its good qualities, our young people are leaving. The moment they graduate, they leave the state, go to other states, go to other countries. We need to create a Kerala where they would want to stay, and where they would want to participate in the adventure of growth and development.
The last question, is the UDF is on a positive note after meeting Rahul Gandhi and Congress President?
I've already said so. We're on the same page. We're moving forward determinedly. I think it's extremely important, both at the state level and at the national level, that the Congress must represent not just an opposition party, but an alternative government. An alternative government is what the people want to see. Whether at the centre or at the state, they want to see people who are ready to assume the reins of office take on the responsibility of serving the people. And I believe the Congress is uniquely suited to do that because we have a lot of experienced, qualified and able people in our ranks. We need to stay together, work together and move forward together, and we're doing that.